Welcome, millionaires and future millionaires. You're listening to the Millionaires Unveiled podcast, a show where you'll hear the stories and interviews of everyday millionaires. We'll unveil their decisions, their strategies, and their portfolio allocation. Now to your host, Jace Mattinson.
Welcome back to another episode of the Millionaires Unveiled podcast. This is episode number 317. Thanks for tuning into our Thursday's episode. Apologize we didn't have one last week. We were a little in shock. You know, the internet was going a little crazy about Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce.
I mean, a lot of us learned a lot about football in the last week.
Yeah, you learned a ton. You didn't even know who Travis Kelce was.
Yeah, I can confirm that's correct.
And probably about another, several million followers of Taylor Swift had no idea.
I knew who Patrick Mahomes was, though. So I have that going for me, and I know that they'd won Super Bowls, but I did not know who Travis Kelce was or how to pronounce his last name.
All right. Well, at any rate, that wasn't really why we were in shock. We were in shock because... Drum roll, please.
We're having twins.
Oh, snap. That's why we were in shock.
No, we've known for about a month about the twins, but just got to a safer point to share the news. We found out the genders last week. We are having boy-girl. And this was definitely a bigger family finale than we had planned on. We had, since before we got married, we talked about having 3, maybe 4 kids, always a stretch on a maybe for the 4th. Thought and prayed long and hard, went back and forth for probably 6 or 7 months, and decided to go for it. And what do you know? Did not plan on 5. But anyway, so we're excited. We're thankful. Things look good and healthy. So it'll be a little bit of a wild ride for me the next little bit. It's been a wild ride already for me, but we're excited. And if we have any other twin parents, please send all the tips. Also, please send money. I think we need that too.
Yeah, pretty crazy. We're about to have 5 podcast hosts pretty soon. It's a little wild. It'll be a crazy few years. But at any rate, we're excited and thought that I would dig into a little bit about the cost of raising kids nowadays, especially with the inflation going up and everything else. So when I was a kid, I don't know if your parents ever talked to you about this, but my parents are always like, oh yeah, it's a couple $100,000 per kid. We got to spend basically to raise and increase living costs, size of house, cars, vehicles, vacations, activities, the whole kit kat caboodle. But yeah, my parents told me it was a couple $100,000. What did your parents tell you?
My parents never talked about money. If I even asked how expensive anything was, my mom just said it cost more than your allowance. So be thankful that your parents actually talked to you about money beforehand. Yeah,
so today, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which is kind of interesting that they're the ones doing this kind of study and producing this kind of information. But at any rate, with inflation, we're looking at, close to $300,000 to raise a kid from birth to 18, which seems astronomical in one sense. But I guess think about all the diapers. Those aren't cheap, even at Costco.
They're definitely better at Costco, though. We didn't get a Costco membership till we had 2 or maybe even the 3rd kid. I don't know. I was like, it seems excessive. Costco just seems like a big commitment. But please, if you do not have a Costco membership and you have kids, please go get your diapers at Costco.
Yeah, so diapers, activities, schooling, school clothes, those aren't cheap either. We just went through that. Doing a lot of these the first.
Yeah, we got uniforms.
Yeah. And then, I guess all through their activities and food and vehicle. I mean, we're in the market now for a bus, basically. I mean, what else you want to call it?
Yeah, no. Yeah, for real, we're looking at getting some sort of transit or something like that. So we can. I don't like my kids to touch in the car because I hate them fighting in the car. This summer, our son nailed our daughter in the face with his metal water bottle when we were on a family trip, and they were sitting 3 across in the back all together. So we need a little distance.
Yeah, so that'll be a little wild ride. And if it really is $300,000 per kid, which I guess we've already spent a good chunk of that because we got 3, they're a couple years old already in medical and everything with that. But kind of interesting to think about. There's a couple studies actually that have put it closer to 400 plus per per child. But, in an environment that we're in today, a question for me is like, how sustainable is that? Does that change? We see people like Elon Musk and a few of these others, very wealthy individuals and, entrepreneurs, celebrities, etc., having 4 or 5, and in his case, 10 kids. But I don't know. It's an interesting thought to think about. Like, does the cost of raising a family nowadays play into the factor of how many kids they had or whether to have kids at all?
Oh, I think absolutely. I mean, because particularly childcare in and of itself is so expensive. And if you're in a dual income house, that's one big factor to consider. Is the second income enough to make the childcare worth it? Because that's basically a second mortgage for most people. And then also taking into account all the decisions that come after that. I mean, we toyed with, are we going to do private school or charter or public school? And we ended up going charter school route because, I don't know about you, but I couldn't swallow the cost of private school. I also didn't think we could afford it.
Neither could I.
But for 1 year of private school for our daughter who's in kindergarten, it was going to be $14,000, which is more than either of us spent on our undergrad, and almost as much as I spent total between my undergrad and master's degrees. So, it's so I think that plays a big role, and also depending on how you want to parent. So if you're fine with that, and if that's also the lifestyle that you want for your family and your kids, then for sure you're going to probably cap the number of children. But there's so much more that goes into this than just finances, because the emotional, mental load and decision fatigue of parenting, particularly for the primary parent. I mean, it's, personally going for a fourth was like a huge leap of faith. And if I didn't feel prompted in some way and also felt peace about it, because there were a lot of days that I was like, honestly, 3's too much. I mean, not too much, but three already was a lot. Anyway, so I just know it's going to be a wild few years, but there's a lot that goes into that parenting decision. And of course, I am usually doing more of the day-to-day and okay, how do we make this so that things aren't expensive on the day-to-day, what I'm cooking from home or whatnot, and schooling. And then you definitely take a broader approach to some of the other aspects of the finances. But I don't know. I think it's a team decision, and certainly finances play a role.
Yeah, dating back to 2015, and this is, I guess, I found that the USDA does this consumer expenditure survey, so this is where this comes from. But back in 2015 was the first year that childcare and education as a percentage of the household's total budget exceeded transportation and became the third most expensive item in that, just by a hair. And it's still there today. So, and it is increasing drastically. In fact, it'll probably be close to outpacing food. I would be curious to see what this year's looks like, because we have seen a massive increase in automobiles and the cost of, COVID really put a wrench in some of the supply chain issues. In fact, we're even dealing with that a little bit right now, trying to figure out how to get one of these transit vans. But it just like backed up. You can't find used ones. The used market is insane still.
We've never bought a new car. We only buy used cars. So
yeah. But I would be curious to see if that's, obviously housing is number one and probably will be for a long time. But, the food, childcare, education, transportation are all getting to be neck and neck with each other now. And maybe childcare and education will pull into second here, depending on what, I guess you can control a lot of what you spend on an automobile and transportation in some respect, but it's a little bit harder to control how much your kid's going to eat, how many diapers they're going to go through.
Well, yeah, for sure. And our food bill definitely gets more expensive as our kids get bigger. I think the more variable costs you can control are activities, clothing. I know that our kids for a while, they would always ask for something every time we went to the grocery store. And I only do curbside pickup now, largely. But previously, I didn't like the idea of giving them like a treat for good behavior at the grocery store, because I also don't want that, in terms of nutrition, and just like this feedback loop of like, I get junk food every time I have good behavior. So for a while there, I let them pick out like something really small, because our grocery store would have like 99-cent race cars or something. But then I realized I also don't want that, because I don't need more things in my house. So I put a kibosh on all of the, basically all the rewards per se of good behavior. And I just have the expectation that you're going to have good behavior when we go to the grocery store now. But anyway, but that's certainly a cost, because it would be so easy with kids, because they are always asking for things. You go anywhere, they want to buy this or that. Or we just bought some sandals that were on sale for our daughter that were $5 when we were leaving the marina, because end of season sale. She doesn't have any sandals. It'd actually be really helpful. I thought about getting her son, but I don't want to buy them pretty much all summer. Anyway, our son came unglued that she got something and he didn't. And I had to come back with this, this is not about being fair. In this family, everybody gets what they need. And that doesn't mean that because she got something, you got something, you already have sandals. You don't need sandals. So, there are so many variable costs that could absolutely just skyrocket, because kids are constantly also asking for things. And, you have to parent in a way that, you are the parent and you put the cap on what it is that you're purchasing for them. But otherwise, they would love for you to buy things for them at every turn.
Yeah. So, any of you that have had 5 kids out there, got any tips? We'd
Honestly,
love to hear it.
It sounds irresponsible that we're having 5 kids.
Irresponsible or not, here we come. ready to hit it head on. So, that's the big news this week for Thursday. So tune in. We'll have some better episodes, or some, I don't know about better. Maybe our guests don't care to hear about the fact that we're having twins, but it's a big part of our life, and we'll be, will be part of the show going forward. That the kids, they're very well in tune that the office has all sorts of microphones and set up all over the place. So should be fun.
Thanks for listening to the Millionaires Unveiled podcast with Jace Mattinson. For more stories, investment opportunities, and information, check out our website, millionairesunveiled.com. See you next time when you'll hear from another everyday millionaire.